I think it's important to read the budget speech along with the economic survey, especially the first chapter of the survey. Yesterday, the Chief Economic Advisor, Dr. Rajan, briefed the media on the economic survey, and many of you must have been present here. The economy is indeed challenged in a number of ways. The economic survey lists the challenges, lays out various options before the government. What the budget does is pick on some of those options and say, this is the way we will go forward. But as I said in the last couple of paragraphs of my budget speech, our work does not stop here. The budget is simply one event in a series of events, in a series of actions that have to be taken. Besides, the budget speech can't run beyond an hour and 45 minutes or maximum of 2 hours. There are many things that I would have liked to say, but I could not say because of lack of time. These are issues that we have either addressed or in the process of addressing. And after the debate takes place in Parliament, when I reply to the debate, another set of measures will be announced. Another set of decisions will be announced. Similarly, when the finance bill is taken up for discussion, and when the finance bill debate takes place and I speak on that debate, another set of decisions will be announced and another set of measures will be announced. So it's not a one-stage or a one-stop exercise where you come before Parliament and make the announcements and then say, let's meet again next year. It's not, let's meet again next year. We will meet again in Parliament, of course, when another set of measures and decisions will be announced when I reply to the debate, and then again we will meet when the finance bill is taken up. So in that sense, I would urge you to read the economic survey and the budget speech. Secondly, contrary to very spirited debate that took place in the media, which I enjoyed, I must say, we have not come up with any great surprises to either put impossible burdens on any section of the people or to spook any section of the investors or any section of the market. And I've explained why. The economic space was rather restricted. Given the restricted economic space, there is no scope for largesse. At the same time, there is no scope for imposing huge burdens on anyone. That's why I said it is a time for prudence, restraint, and patience. I think of the 3 words, the most important one is patience. There may be many things that I would have liked to have done, but one must be patient and wait for the appropriate time. And I think the wheel will turn once the investment cycle begins. So one must be patient when the economy is challenged. One must wait for the wheel to turn. And once the wheel turns, then we have a lot more freedom to take action. The main thrust of the budget is to signal to the world and to everyone else that we are following a fiscally prudent path, that the fiscal deficit will be contained. If the fiscal deficit is contained, other deficits will be contained in due course. And I think we have demonstrated our capability to contain the fiscal deficit at 5.2, which is below the mark that I set for myself, 5.3, and for the next year at 4.8. The current account deficit is a little more tricky. Current account deficit cannot be contained by simply compressing expenditure or raising revenues. Current account deficit can be contained only if we are able to export more, or we are able to import less, or we are able to do both. In the short run, importing less is not a very viable option. If we need oil, we have to import oil. If we need edible oil, we have to import edible oil. If we need pulses, we have to import pulses. Sometimes we import even things we do not need, for example, gold. But then there is the passion among our people to import gold. And even if I say we don't need gold, don't import it, very few people are going to listen to me. Therefore, in the short run, it is not easy to reduce imports. In the medium term, yes, some of these imports can be reduced. For example, if we increase production of coal, then we can reduce the import of coal. If we increase production of oil seeds, then we can reduce the import of edible oils. In the medium to long run, the only way to contain the current account deficit is to improve exports. If our exports grow at the same rate as our imports are growing, or faster than our imports are growing, then we can pay for our imports. Then the current account deficit becomes manageable. I've already told the Cabinet as well as the Minister for Commerce that we will fully support measures that he will announce by the 31st of March when he amends the foreign trade policy. We will fully support all measures that will give a boost to exports. So if I have not said too much about exports, it is because I await the amendments to the foreign trade policy. But once those amendments are made, both he and I will come and meet you and explain that we are both on the same page as far as supporting measures to boost exports. Then, of course, there is a question of inflation. I've explained why and how inflation takes place. Monetary policy can only do so much to contain inflation. Fiscal policy must go hand in hand with monetary policy. We can't put the entire burden of taming inflation on monetary policy. Fiscal policy must do its part, which is why we are containing the fiscal deficit. I'm confident that the Monetary Policy Authority will also do its part, consistent with its mandate to tame inflation. It will also address issues of growth. I think 2013-14 will be a better year than 2012-13 in terms of growth, in terms of inflation control, in terms of investment. It will be a better year. In fact, the Chief Economic Advisor and his team have predicted that GDP will grow over 6%. He's given you a band, 6.1 to 6.7. I may add that the Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council has also predicted growth next year will be over 6%. So once growth moves over 6%, that is a sure sign that the economy is on the way to recovery. And then the year after, that is 2014-15, we must aim to move growth beyond 7%. So the immediate goal is to move to a growth rate above 6%, then to a growth rate above 7%. Now, I've also explained in the budget, what does growth mean? Growth is not an end in itself. Growth will mean something only if it brings relief and material relief to the people. Education to those who have no access to education, healthcare to those who have no access to healthcare, skills to anyone who wants to acquire a skill, jobs to those who are unemployed, security to those who feel insecure. So growth can mean something only if it translates into something which is material. In fact, someone said, God to a hungry man is in the form of food. So growth must be something material, which is why we emphasize human development indicators. Revenues that we generate, the efficiencies that we bring to the system must mean something to the people. And I hope next year it will mean a little more than this year, that there will be more access to education, more access to health care, more access to food, more sense of security. That is the test of good governance, and I'm sure that my colleagues in the government who are in charge of ministries and departments will surely do their bit to deliver the outcomes in respect to the outlays that I have presented in the budget. So with these few words, the floor is now open to questions.